Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we are after market close on Thursday, November 11th. We're going to take a look at SoFi today. So SoFi up almost 12.5% today. As you know by now, the reaction to earnings this time around was actually very positive. So nice big gap up from yesterday's minus 7.77% day. And, just sort of continuing on this really strong run that SoFi has been putting together. And we've been watching this sort of secondary cup forming, right? And then this could have been a bit of a handle. I mean, it fell much deeper than I would have liked it to, but the timing being what it was more reliant on the reaction to earnings rather than the actual technical formation. So I think now we'll sort of see what the next several days bring and what sort of evolves from here. But I mean, you see at this point, it's stretching up close to where this topped out here. The high on this day was 24.46. Our high today was 24.65. So, stretching up a bit above that, still waiting for that really solid run at 25, which would push us up against that 24.98 resistance level, which is the highest one that I have on the chart at the moment. So once we kind of flip that from resistance to support, then we can look above and beyond. But in the meantime, we had this 23.71 that we have to deal with, and then we have this pretty close in support level at about 22.89 or so, and then below that 21.87 if it's needed. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how long-lived this is, but it's certainly nice to see well over 70 million in volume coming in today for such a big green day. And yesterday when we had a pretty solid sell-off, there was 46 million that was clocked. So a nice bump in buying pressure there. Wanted to take a look. You can't see this on the desktop app, unfortunately, but there's a positions and cost distribution. So it looks like as of close today, the profited shares at market close were 63.53% of all shares were profitable at the close of the bell today. So that's pretty positive, just in the sense of retail has a history of expecting that they are much more apt to hold green than red. And I know there's sort of this image of a bag holder, right, where retail gets left holding the bag and they hold on to these incredibly red positions. But I think much of the data sort of supports the idea that retail tends to hold green positions and ditch their red positions. So it's good that, well over half are green. Certainly some profit taking toward the end of the day, which we can take a look at as well. Then I want to talk about, I did have a chance to listen to the earnings call and just sort of share my 2 cents on that. But today, good thing that we plot these levels, which is what I've been saying for several days now, I guess. But if we didn't have these levels, could have felt kind of lost today, but came right down and built support off of this 22.89, had a nice bounce actually, and all the way up to the mid 24s here off of that bounce. So that's a $2 run. That's a really solid run from 22.89 to, well, almost $2, I guess, to the mid 24s. So congrats to anyone who's doing intraday stuff and caught that. And then we basically just retraced all of it, right? And settled back down at the end of the day on that 22.89 level. So just sort of doing its big push and pull, as we've seen several times before. But to me, it actually looked today like the 23.71 and the 22.89, the support and resistance levels that we had plotted, played a much more relevant role than even the VWAP, which is, the VWAP is at least usually playing as much of a role as the support and resistance zones. But nice to see this today. And, I think that this is a really phenomenal day. I think it did a good job of holding its strength. And I think it did a really good job of pinning itself, even in the after hours in the pre-market, to levels that make sense to the chart that we've laid out. So this gives me additional confidence in the chart. Obviously, to the upside, the next thing I'm looking for is that run at 25, like we said. And then if we need it, we have a couple levels here in the 21s that should provide support if it's needed. But, we'll keep an eye on it and see what evolves over the coming days. Now, on the call, I didn't have a ton of notes from the call because a lot of it seemed pretty straightforward to me. It seemed pretty in line with what we just sort of gleaned quickly from seeing the results last night. But, the one thing that I did sort of note that was interesting to me was around the idea of their brokerage platform. I think I'm really going off of memory here because I didn't take notes, but I believe that they were talking about the idea that it wasn't a strong performer. And so, in that case, it'll be interesting for me to see if they can help build that brokerage business. And they were kind of talking about that, sort of signifying that can have a little bit of a slower quarter or whatnot, but that the overall company and earnings can be really, really excellent because of how diversified they are. So they kind of very quickly spun it that way, which is fine. But I do think that if they are able to make some big improvements to their brokerage platform, obviously that's where a lot of companies that capture high numbers of users, which I still think, even though they're accelerating their user capture, I think that I would still like to see that ramp up quite a bit. And I think maybe bringing folks in on the brokerage side of things, if they can improve that product, would maybe go a long way. But just the thoughts on that. And then in terms of sort of where we'd be looking for the next big wave, besides this run at 25. So obviously we have our eye on $35, and it's for a couple of reasons. One of which is here. So I had shared this about a week ago, maybe, from Unusual Whales that had put out this bullish alert where SoFi puts were being sold for January 21st of 2022 at the $35 strike. That was the one that I saw at that point. There's actually sells for the same expiration date at the $40 strike. And so this would indicate that whomever is selling these would anticipate that SoFi is above $35 or $40 within just the next 2 months or 9 weeks or so, which seems insane. But the reason that we were talking about $35 was for that reason at that point. And so I kind of wanted to reiterate on that today because the only thing that I can think of that would really make that huge of an impact would be the bank charter. So if there's some news coming out on that, maybe there's some knowledge and some folks are taking positions, reflecting that. That said, the overall flow for SoFi in Unusual Whales is a bit mixed for sure. There's definitely a lot of bearish flow as well, but this is where those super bullish put sales exist. You have, for example, here a sweep that was bearish, selling calls at the $20 strike. So there's a lot of mixed info here. It doesn't seem to be incredibly strong leaning in one direction or another. That said, I'm really new to using Unusual Whales full platform, so I probably have a lot more to dig into there to try to figure out what's going on. The funny side of why we're focused on $35 is that is the beard shaving price point. So many months ago we had started some sort of funny thing in the comments where somebody had suggested that we set a price target at which I would shave my beard, and somehow we got to $35, and so that's still the case. And it's funny because some folks who probably just sort of peripherally remember that ask me almost every video these days what the beard shave price target is. So it's $35. And if that happens, or when that happens, I'll record a new intro to these videos, sans beard. I was going to do a new one anyway when it's winter. I'm trying to see if I can find a nice wintry backdrop for an intro video and then be able to use that for a while. But, we'll see if there's the possibility of $35 coming down the line. Yeah, we'll know eventually. But shorts today, if we want to take a look at this, Don't know why this is, as it's a non-settlement day. Okay, so maybe because of the bank holiday. Maybe that's impacting this. I don't know. But don't know exactly what the short interest is today, I guess, per Ortex estimates. So obviously I didn't check this beforehand, so it's news to me as well. But yeah, I hope that everyone, is having a really good sort of come down from earnings. It was pretty exciting and pretty positive. And we'll see where we go from here, but there could be some jerkiness ahead. Obviously, this was a pretty herky-jerky day, but it wasn't too bad in terms of choppiness. It was really just kind of like strong in one direction, strong in another direction, strong in another direction, but it was really only like 3 or 4 times, so it wasn't like it was changing direction a dozen times over the course of the day. Before we go, if you're interested in possibly supporting the channel, there's a few ways to do it. I'll put those in the description below. One is just by sharing these videos on StockTwits or Reddit or Twitter or anywhere that you share or view stock material or content. Another would be, if you're interested in this sort of thing and you want to throw a few shekels my way, I'll put my Venmo in the description below. Anything there is appreciated if you like to just say thanks for the work. And then I'll have a Patreon coming out in about, I'm hoping by the end of the month, but we'll see how it goes. It's a lot to put together, and I've crowdsourced a bunch of what folks want and timing and actual content that they want and levels that they would want to see in that sort of thing. So I'll be sharing more info about that in the coming weeks, depending on how quickly I get any of that put together, and we'll kind of go from there. But I certainly appreciate, like I said, even if it's a share on a social site, that is it definitely means a lot as well. Don't feel that it's just a big money grab. This is me seeing if there's a way that I can contribute more of my time to providing content, not only on YouTube, but then on the Patreon and then, via Twitter and stuff like that. And obviously that would require me to kind of offset some income and things like that, and see how I might be able to transition to doing this in more of a full-time-ish capacity. But also I love to trade, so I'll be busy trading as well. But if it was just this and that would be potentially really interesting to me. So that's sort of why I'm feeling this out and seeing, what the right happy medium is here. It's not just to say like trying to turn this into a huge money-making machine. If it does, it'll be just because I'm able to devote a ton more time to it, and it's just sort of like a natural transition point, and people seem to be interested enough that want to hop in for the ride with me. And if not, well, I guess regardless, I'll continue to do the free YouTube videos. That's not a question. I'll continue to put stuff out on Twitter. That's not a question. So those things won't go away. This would just be in addition to that. Okay, Rambling Dan is gonna move on to record another video. So I hope that you had a good trading day today and that you're able to finish the week off strong tomorrow. And as always, I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.